All right. Welcome to Saturday Night Child Protection Live with your host, Christopher Gelson with Protect Your Children Incorporated. ProtectYourChildren.org is the website. ProtectYourChildren.org is the website. If you haven't checked it out, then why haven't you? There's so much great education and awareness and information available on the site. And you know what? It's all free. Now, why do I bring that up? Well, because earlier this week, we saw a post on Instagram, I believe it was, and a lady was offering a child protection seminar, which is great. Okay, child protection seminar. But they were charging people $65 to attend a seminar to learn how to protect their children. That is absolutely outrageous. That is something that we have never done, and that is something we will never do. Okay, we're not going to charge people a fee. And of course, they said it was for the a protection packet of information, which, by the way, we have for free on our website, protectyourchildren.org, the in-depth protection packet. We don't charge you for that. And so listen, everything is free. Check out the website, protectyourchildren.org, education, awareness, podcasts. All sorts of great stuff is on there. So anyway, thank you. In the house tonight, we have Jay from Michigan. Good to see you, Jay. Tracy, servant of Christ. Good to see you, even though the power is flickering for you out there. Glad that you made it onto the show. Sheena Higgins, glad to have you here from Facebook. Good to see you. And who else we got? And you're rising on Eagle's wings. And a whole host of other people watching on Rumble and YouTube and Facebook as well. Feel free to comment. We'd like to hear your comments, and you can add right to the show. So we appreciate that very much. So tonight, we have a very, very good show for you tonight. Lot of information, awareness, education. Of course, that's what we do at Protect Your Children Incorporated. Now, look, I'm going to be real with you for a minute. We understand that there's an epidemic of child predators. Okay, we know, we've seen them in the schools. We know they're in people's homes. Okay, they're in the after-school programs. They're in the churches. For whoever might be listening online that commented earlier this past week, yes, there's predators on the right of politics and on the left of politics. This is not a issue that's about black and white or gay or straight or rich or poor or married or single. Predators are in every walk of life, okay? And we don't draw any lines between gay, straight, rich, poor, black, white, married, single. You got the point. They are everywhere, okay? And the reality is that we want to protect children from these creeps, okay? Now, I want to tell you, we have this show coming to you live every Saturday night, okay? It's interesting that our live viewership is pretty low. I mean, we're averaging about maybe 10 live people on the show. 10, okay. But the after effect, the podcast, and the clips that we put out and all that good stuff, we're reaching into the hundreds, okay? So we're very thankful for that. So we thank you in advance for sharing and for re-Xing or retweeting, whatever you want to call it now. And listen, without your sharing the program, people don't get educated. People aren't made aware. So we're glad that you're doing that, and we thank you for that. This past week, we got a notification from TikTok, of all places, that our TikTok videos just reached 750,000 views. That's crazy, and that was in the last year. 750,000 in the last year. We had no idea that we're reaching that many people on TikTok, of all places, but we're glad that we are. Instagram is around 825,000. Okay, that's pretty awesome, right? And listen, the reality is that we are reaching a whole lot of people, okay? But we need to reach more. We want to get this information down to the local level. We want to get it into the eyes and hands and the heads of people locally, right? And in order to do that, we want to create chapters. We want to create people in positions where they can make sure that the information is getting shared on a local level. We want to get this information to the school boards and to the baseball, little league, and to soccer and football and all those places where kids are gathering We want to get the information to those people because that's where the kids are, which means that's where the predators are, right? And that's our long-term goal, is to get this out there to more and more people so that more and more kids can be protected. So you can actually help us do that by sharing, by talking to people about it, by sharing our website, by donating, which helps us to promote content, and that gets it out further to people. You can do that on our website. Just click on how to help protect. You'll see the link there, and there's all the different things that you can do to help us protect children from the scum that's out there. Not to put it straight up, they're scum. This is our website that I was telling you about, protectyourchildren.org, protectyourchildren.org. Education and awareness are the keys to protecting children, people. Education and awareness, and of course, parental involvement, law enforcement. But yeah, education and awareness are the keys to protecting kids. And our weekly podcast is hosted right. If you click on this link, you'll see all the live shows. Listen, if you have missed a live show and you're joining us for the first time, you have missed so much education, so much awareness, so much protection. You can click on this link and you can scroll back. You can listen to every live show podcast going back to when we started this thing. All right. I mean, you got enough to last you for months. Okay. Months and months. It's amazing. So it's called a crash course in keeping your kids safe. So all of our social media links are here. Our Facebook group, Facebook page, Twitter or X, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Rumble, Threads. All the links are there. If you don't follow us, why not? I mean, wouldn't you rather see some cool, like educational things in your feed that tells you how to keep your kids safe? Yeah, man, you're missing out a lot if you haven't joined us on our social media. So you can do that there. And as I mentioned before, really quickly, before we move on, in-depth protection packet right there. In-depth protection packet, first link. Yes, it is a 12-section packet of guidelines, detailed protection on how to protect your kids, how to identify PDF files, as we call them here for the YouTube algorithm, how to identify them, how to identify the traits of grooming, how to protect your kids online and in the community. Tons of information, in-depth protection packet, free of charge, of course. No $65 needed here. You can download it, print it, put it next to your bed, sleep with it under your pillow. I don't know, man. Just do whatever you need to do, but read the in-depth protection packet. Yes, a lot of great information. All right, awesome. Thank you. All right. Let's see what's going on in the chat here. Tracy, servant of Christ, she said, hey, Chris, that's a lot of people. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Marie T, God that you can make it into the chat. Marie T is our co-director of Protect Your Children Incorporated. She's awesome. And I'm glad that you made it into the chat tonight. And everybody else who's listening online from different places. All right. Here's what we like to do. Every week, we show you a Hero Kid segment. We display and highlight and promote a child that has done awesome work, whether it's saving lives, helping out in their community, being brave, being courageous, being selfless. All right. We bring you a segment every week on this because we want to remind you of how awesome children are. Kids are amazing. Kids do not deserve to be hurt. They do not deserve to be abused. They do not deserve to go through some of the hell that they've gone through and are going through. You know what? We can't stop it all, but we can certainly try to remind people of how awesome kids are. And hopefully that will propel you to want to protect the hopes and the dreams and the purposes of kids out there. So that's why we do the Hero segment every week here on Saturday Night Child Protection Live. So let's go ahead and jump into that Hero segment. I'm reading the chat. Jay from Michigan. I will try in my area. I have a few local connections with local child protection folks. I'll try to set it up. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jay. Appreciate your passion on that and all that you do to help out in your area and online as well. All right, let's jump into this Hero segment. We'll check this out and we'll be back in, it says 1 minute and 58 seconds. Yeah, cool. Listen, check it out.
Hockey suddenly found another use for his hockey stick. He saved 2 children with it after they fell through the ice of a frozen pond. Action News reporter Dan Cuellar has more on the dramatic rescue.
Me and Sean, we were just skating right out there.
16-year-old Corey Hemberger says
All right, looks like we got this delay again. This happened last week too, where the delay from the audio and the video. Not sure why, but I'm going to refresh this and see if we can get rid of that.
A Bucks County teenager
There we
playing
go.
ice hockey suddenly found another use for his hockey stick. He saved 2 children with it after they fell through the ice of a frozen pond. Action News reporter Dan Cuellar has more on the dramatic rescue.
Me and Sean, we were just skating right out there.
16-year-old Corey Hemberger says he and his friend Sean Miller had been playing pond hockey Sunday afternoon at Lake Afton in Yardley and were just about to head home when they heard a 13-year-old kid fall through the ice into the frigid waters.
And he was screaming for help. His friend tried to help him, and he ended up going in with him.
Corey says something told him he had to go help and rushed towards the two with his hockey stick.
I was kind of just in the moment. My adrenaline was going, my heart was pumping, so I kind of just went for it and just hoped that God was with me.
It was just after 5, and Tim Miller
Amen to
says
that.
he was sitting in his truck nearby when he heard all the commotion.
Then I jumped out of my truck and I started running down the trail after,
With the phone, they call
call 911 as I'm going.
Right when I was on the edge, reaching my stick out, I just heard it cracking, so I was like, all right, we got to do this quick so I don't fall into.
He was able to get the kids out who were shaking and shivering, but okay, they declined an ambulance. Corey's mother didn't learn the extent of what had happened until the next day when she saw something a mother had posted on Facebook.
All superheroes don't wear capes. Some play ice hockey. I'm like, oh, my kids play ice hockey. Let me look at that.
She soon realized it was the mother of one of the boys that Corey had rescued and reached out to her to say it was her boy.
She wanted to just thank me for, his heroic efforts and that her son's okay. And without Corey being here, she doesn't know what would have happened.
She says the mother wanted to know if she could buy something for Corey to say thanks.
I said I don't need anything because I knew if I was in that situation, I would want someone to help me too.
Do I have to say anything else? Is that awesome? Man. Yeah, he said, I just hope that God was with me, but I'm going to save this kid, man. Can we buy you something to say thank you? No, don't buy me anything, because you know what? If I was in the same situation, I would want someone to do the same thing for me. What a great attitude. What a great attitude. Yeah, and then Tracy pointed out about the mom. The mom was like totally surprised. Like it seems like he didn't run home and go, hey, mom, I just saved a couple of kids' lives. No, he didn't brag about it. He didn't say anything. He just, went about his day, and then his mom finds it online. That wait a second, he just rescued 2 kids. How awesome, man. But listen, that is exactly why we bring you the hero segment every week, because we want to highlight the good that kids are doing, and to remind people that kids are born with a purpose. They're born with a passion. They're born with vision. They're born with an innocence and a selflessness, right? And predators take advantage of that, and they try to seize upon that and destroy their lives for their own selfish, evil gain. All right. And we don't want that to happen. And we know that you don't want that to happen. We want to continue to see kids doing great things and making an impact in this world. Maximum Exposures Michigan. Glad you can make it. Dude, Maximum Exposures Michigan posts a lot of great stuff on Facebook. We encourage you to check them out. Just go to Facebook, Maximum Exposures Michigan. They do a lot of great stuff exposing predators, and we're glad that you made it to the show tonight. And I'm just reading the chat. World Child Protection Hub, hero segment, great for several reasons. All right, cool. A lot of great stuff there. So that's our hero segment for this week. One of our passionate followers, Lisa Mann, she does a lot of great work as well, sent this. She posted it actually online, and I wanted to share it with you. She came across these stats. Now, this is some mind-blowing stuff right here, but I apologize if it's kind of small, but I'm going to read it to you. So she posted this. You ready for this? Now, listen up. This is very sobering, okay? Last week, more than 25,000 scammers were trained on how to sexually exploit and blackmail teenagers. Last week, the blackmail scam went viral among criminals. Videos with detailed instructions how to rapidly groom and threaten a victim gained over 1 million views. This is some sick stuff. Last week, 2 more American teens died while being blackmailed in this sextortion epidemic, bringing the total to 46. Rest in peace, Eli, who was 16, and Braden, who was only 15. More unexplained, can't say that word on social media, unalivings will turn into homicides in the coming weeks and months. Last week, tens of thousands more teens were targeted and fell for this scam. A significant percent are still being threatened for continuous payments until they run out of options. Last week, my decoy accounts were approached by 26 different profiles run by these criminals seeking to extort people, which are kids. This is the largest uptick since I've started monitoring, but every hour the criminals spend on my AI profiles, they cannot actually target kids. Last week, this blackmailer bragged about his new Mercedes-Benz. They don't even bother to hide their crimes. All of this in 7 days. The largest blackmail operation in human history is unfolding right in front of us today. Wow. Just let that sink in. Now, we've talked about sextortion, and what it is simply like extortion, we've heard about all the time. Sextortion is simply grooming and convincing a child, teenager, under 18, to send a nude image or video to somebody over the internet. Now, a lot of the profiles that these predators set up are profiles of other kids. So kids can be tricked into thinking that they're sending a photo or an image or a video to someone who's their age. And if you take kids who are looking for attention, that are lonely, that are sad, that are going through a lot of hard times, and all of a sudden, you know, this upset, troubled 13-year-old girl all of a sudden gets a message from this cute boy who's 12 or 13, and he says he's going through rough times and just wants someone to talk to, and hey, look, oh, you're pretty and you're cute. Hey, you know what? We're going through the same things. And they start chit-chatting up, and she thinks that he really likes her. And so over a period of time, they communicating more, and some images start going back and forth. The hormones kick in. All these things happen. And as soon as that girl sends that video or that picture, the next message she gets is saying, I'm going to expose you, and I'm going to share this everywhere. I'm going to post it online. Everybody's going to see you unless you pay me money, or unless you meet me and do what I want you to do. Imagine that. It's called sextortion, and it's happening to our kids. Dominique, welcome to the chat. Good to see you as well. But sextortion is happening, and those stats, think about it, that was all just in the past week. Now, how do we stop this? Well, you got to protect your kids, obviously, right? On the screen, you'll see that we have a shield, right? Education, awareness, parental involvement, and law enforcement, all working together. Okay, education, awareness, parental involvement, law enforcement. All four of those things working together can keep kids safe from these people, right? The key one being there, parental involvement. Many of these kids spend all this time online, and they're chatting it up, and they're sending videos and pictures back and forth with people for months and months and months, and the parents have no idea because they don't check their devices. They don't check their phones. They're not checking their browser histories. They're not checking their locked folders. They're not checking Snapchat. They're not checking Instagram. They're not checking nothing because the parents think that it's not a problem. When I have conversations with people throughout the day, there are people where the topic of protecting children comes up, and I'll say, man, can you believe this extortion thing that's happening? And they'll say, what's that? Never heard of it. Never heard of it? You've got children and you never heard of sextortion? That's pretty scary. So it's like they weren't even aware, not even checking. But those stats are very sobering. Like Marie T says, see something, say something. Absolutely. Wow, it's crazy. All right. So we thank Lisa Manns, Facebook, for sending that. And she does a lot of great work. Let me bring you some stats here about sexual assault victims, okay? This is what we're facing. Now, we already know that the majority of kids, unfortunately, do not disclose what's happened to them for a period of like 3 to 5 years, okay? and sometimes even longer, and sometimes never. And of course, the longer a child doesn't disclose, the longer the trauma and the damage done to them increases. That's very important. And believing your children and supporting them no matter what happens is one of the most important things. So I want to share with you some stats right now that are basically highlighting the importance of this. All right. So 5 to 20% of sexual assault victims report to law enforcement. Think about that. 5 to 20% out of 100%. That's a very low number already. Okay. Friends and family play a critical role in determining whether victims will access services. And of course, there's a hashtag here, start by believing. Okay. Start by believing. Sexual assault victims typically reach out to 2 to 3 people for support before they report to law enforcement. Friends and family play a critical role in determining whether victims will report or access services. Imagine that. All right. Sexual assault victims typically receive more negative reactions from loved ones than they do from law enforcement or community services. Can you believe that? And we've heard these stories before. You know, where young kids have been abused or they are being abused, and they go to a parent, they go to someone in their family, and they're not believed. Or the parent will say, no, stop. You're just causing trouble. That's not really happening. I don't believe that. That is the worst thing a parent could possibly do, is not believe their child. Now we know the stats. And we know the stats show that the younger the child is, the less likely they are to make up a story. There are cases, okay, where older teenagers have made up these stories against somebody in order for revenge or whatever type of situation. But listen, the majority of this, the reporting is true, and these children need to be believed. Okay. Sexual assault victims who receive negative reactions are less likely to disclose to anyone else. I mean, think about that. Child's brave enough. They finally go to disclose to somebody, and they're basically not believed. Yeah, that's going to encourage them to go to law enforcement, right? Because the people that they went to that are supposed to love them and care about them didn't believe them. They told them they were just looking for attention, or oh, you interpreted that thing wrong, or no, that person wouldn't do that, and then you expect that child to disclose to somebody who can actually stop the predator. Think about that. The reality is that children need to be believed. There is exactly no reason to not believe a child when they say this is happening. World Child Protection Hub in the chat. I'm going to highlight this. So many still in the dark, carrying the baggage of this trauma. You know, I'll tell you something. The more we look into why these PDF files are doing what they're doing, and we've talked about this before, the psychology of why these people do what they do is very important. And you say, why? I don't give a crap about that person. They're a scumbag. Well, yeah, but the psychology of why they do it, okay, reveals their motives. It reveals what they're trying to do, and it reveals what psychology they are using to trap kids. So the more we understand what they're doing in combination with protecting our kids, staying involved, being educated, being aware, contacting law enforcement as needed, the more we can keep them safe. But we have to understand why these people do what they do and how they do it. But this is a great point, that a lot of these PDF files, and this isn't for sympathy, this is just for facts. A lot of these PDF files, when interviewed, when talked to by police, have reported the fact that they were abused as kids. Now, there is a cycle of trauma, okay, that does happen in these cases. Now, does that excuse what they're doing? No, absolutely not. But the reality is, once a PDF file realizes they have a problem, or they have a desire or these thoughts, they have the responsibility to go seek help. But a lot of them don't. They give into those desires and they start abusing children. And if those children stay in the dark and carry that trauma, there's a 25 to 30% chance, according to the statistics, that that child will start to repeat the behavior. Think about that. You know, when you look at the scale of millions of kids that have been abused, and the fact that only 5 to 20% max will report, that means all of those other kids are suffering in silence. And the more they suffer, the worse it is. Just think about that. Now, I want to tell you that we have shown this before, what I'm about to bring to you, but we're going to show you, let you hear from 2 of these pedophiles. These are guys that were convicted and ultimately got out of prison, and they've agreed to talk about why and how they did what they did to children, how they trapped them, okay, ways that they groomed them. All right, now this is important. Parents need to understand this, and educators that are not abusing kids, by the way, and other guardians and passionate protectors need to understand that this is what these people do. And you say, why are you going to play? Why are you going to give these freaking creeps airtime? Let me ask you, do you know that there are many situations where the police will actually, you know, hire somebody who was, say, former thief? It's true. Like you hear about this, right? If somebody was really, really good at stealing cars, right, or really, really good at robbing banks or whatever, and they get caught and they do their time, they get out, they get on the straight and narrow. A lot of times the police will go and say, how did you get away with it for so long? Teach us, help us to stop this, and they will help. But who knows better than the people that are doing it? So when these creeps talk, I believe them. I know what they're saying sounds crazy, but it's true. These people, what they do is absolutely true. In the chat, we have Tammy. Good to see you, Tammy. Glad that you're here. So first, I'm going to bring you Jack Reynolds. Now, I played this last week and the week before, so you're going to hear from this guy again. And then I want to bring you another segment of a conversation on the news that they had with another convicted pedophile. Listen to what these people say, because this is how they're targeting the children and targeting the parents. We have something to learn from these people. And I'll tell you what, we got to pay attention because, well, I have to say it because there's millions of them out there. Millions of them. Now I'm going to refresh this. Hopefully we don't have a lag.
How did you get them alone?
Grooming. I would check out their family situation. I would check out their clothing to see how well they were, you know, financially. I would check out their social interaction with other kids. You know, when we were on the ballparks or on the gym floor, you know, I would make sure which ones I wanted to molest. I would give them special attention, congratulate them, talk to them when I know that I would never be allowed to talk to anybody else. You know, aside from everybody, I would give them the attention that an official is not supposed to give anybody. And it made them feel like, wow, he's paying me attention. You know, it is a direct form of grooming.
Yep.
Were there certain characteristics that you looked for in children before molesting them?
In children, yes, but more, I also looked at their families. If I thought the father was a threat, I would not approach the child.
Your dad would kick your friggin'
If
butt.
I thought that the child had friends that he would tell, I would not approach him. If I thought the child had friends that were in the same capacity he was, I would approach him. For the simple fact that if I could molest him, I could lure him into believing, grooming him into believing that he would enjoy it. And therefore, I could manipulate him into having his other friends come and be molested by me as well.
So perhaps a child that doesn't really have a whole lot of friends, maybe not really a strong family, things like that.
Yes, no spiritual values. weak in education, needs help in many ways, even from split parenting, has a mother who may be having problems with the family, well, here comes superhero in to help out, wow, well, thank you very much. No problem. You ever need me to take them away for the night so you can have a night out? No problem. It works.
It works, he says. Now, think about that. So he goes after the parents, right? Because he wants to see what kind of child defense is in place. He looks for kids that might not have a lot of money because then he can say, I can help you out in that area. He looks for kids that aren't paid attention to, well kept, okay? Kids that have large amounts of freedom where it's clear that the parents aren't checking in on what they're doing. He looked for similar traits in that child victim's friends, so then he can try to get more kids to hurt. He looked for kids that don't have any spiritual values, right? Because if a child is raised with spiritual values, they know that this is wrong. There's a less chance that they're going to, I hate to say consent, but you know what I mean. They're manipulated to consenting, but there's less chance that they will, go along with something like this because they're going to know it's wrong. So he looks for kids that don't have spiritual values, right? And he looks for like single moms who are targets of pedophiles, right? Like he said, Mr. Hero comes in and saves the day. Does mom need a break? She's working all day. She's shopping. She's doing the budgeting. She's cleaning. And she just needs a night to herself. And he's going to say, hey, you know what? Me and your child can hang out tonight. Don't worry about it. You go out and have a good time. And mom would say, no problem. Thank you so much for that. Now, listen, are there good people? Absolutely. There are good people that will help out families, help out single mothers, be good mentors to kids. The difference between the two types of people is one thing. One wants to abuse a child and the other one doesn't, right? And then how do you know that, right? How do you know for sure? Well, you have to have communication with your kids. After they, if they're going to spend time around somebody, you have to ask them what kind of conversations they have. You have to ask them what other people were around. You have to ask them if the person has ever tried to break the physical touch barrier with them. If your child shows up with items that you didn't buy, you need to find out why somebody's buying your kids' stuff. Like these are all things that are in the child protection packet, which you can find on our website, protectyourchildren.org. Just go to the in-depth protection packet. All of these things are there. But listening to what these people do and how they do it, we can learn from that and stay 2 steps ahead, because that's what we need to be able to do. Now, this next one, okay, this is a little bit longer, but it's very, very informational. And it's very creepy. It's very, very creepy. But let's check this out together. I'll probably jump in for commentary, but let's listen together.
Tonight, we're getting some answers from actual child predators. News 8 investigator Charlotte Huffman joins us now to kick off a month of WFAA Originals. Charlotte?
Izzy, we wanted to know, how does a predator earn a child's trust? How do they prey right under their parents' noses? Those are the heartbreaking questions from the families of so many victims. Tonight, we're hearing the predators' unsettling stories about how they would protect children from themselves.
I took her innocence. I took her ability to be a child. And that was not mine to take. In fact, it was mine to protect.
Too often, the people trusted to protect children choose to prey on them instead.
Did you know in your head at the time that what you were doing was wrong?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a North Texas man who sexually assaulted a child.
So you guys had sex?
We had a sexual relationship, yes.
He went to prison. Now, years later, he's agreed to tell us the secrets of predators as long as we hide his identity.
Are you the type of person that parents might look at and say, he looks like a sex offender?
No.
You're the opposite.
Absolutely. In fact, I would be the kind of person that they would look at and say, there's not a chance in the world he would ever have done what he did. Not a chance in the world.
Perpetrators often wear a mask of deception.
Terry Miller is one of the nation's leading experts on the topic.
It's very common for these perpetrators to be teachers of the year and be award-winning coaches. The victim is the only one who knows the monster.
I wanted to be the next great mentor to young people. I wanted to change lives.
Yet this popular North Texas teacher had a secret.
I had a sexual attraction to an underage female. For me, pornography was a big trigger.
He sent explicit nude photos of himself to a student. He was later convicted of indecency with a child.
The act itself is about as close to unforgivable as you can get.
In each story, the predator, the victim, and the ending are different. But both offenders say their stories and the many others like them always start the same.
It's what we refer to in counseling as grooming your victim.
Grooming is the common practice of breaking down a child's moral fibers.
They first rape the child's mind, and then in order to rape their body.
The predators say the first step is isolating their victim.
Creating opportunities to be alone with her, apart and separate from the group, on the bus, sitting together all the time.
Then they work to earn their victim's trust.
You become the child's confidant.
You become the child's confidant. You become their all in all. You become the one that they look to as the one that is going to provide their answers and give them their guidance.
So once you earn the child's trust, it becomes easier to push the boundaries.
That's correct.
Most often, they use texts and Facebook to do it.
So you allow sexual subject matter to be talked about, perhaps. You're open to sexual questions. And of course, then you start to push the boundary a little farther. Like, is that something you're interested in? What do you like in those situations?
What did you do or say to make sure that her parents didn't know or suspect anything?
Lied continually. We would sneak around and find ways to meet at the mall or meet at the movie theater. When we became sexual, that's when everything went into protection mode. We've got to hide this. We've got to keep this secret.
The conversation we had was difficult to hear, but listen as he gives advice to parents everywhere.
If a parent sees their child spending an inordinate amount of time with a significant adult that is outside the family, that is something to really spend some time looking at. If your child themselves starts talking about another significant adult in ways that you're going, I didn't realize you guys were that close. Any attempt to gather favor, connection is a part of that grooming process.
They say the number one deterrent is an adult who monitors the child's electronic communication.
Because this whole situation thrives in secrecy. It will never survive in the midst of the light.
Well, if you notice that we did not interview any female predators, let's be very clear. It's not because there aren't any, but because they wouldn't agree to an interview. If you want to learn more about the red flags of grooming, tap the WFAA original tile on our app. Charlotte Huffman, Channel 8 News.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Now, there's a lot in there. I want to take a second and thank Bryden for sharing his story in the chat. Wow. There's a lot there. What this guy said. Now, again, we've talked about the fact that there are good organizations of mentors and counselors and, after school programs and things where there are people who have no intention of hurting a child. But again, you have to know the warning signs, the tricks, the traps, the threats. You have to be aware of the conversations that a child is having with somebody, even their teachers, their counselors, mentors, youth leaders, other people in the church, out in the community. You have to be aware. You have to ask these important questions, and you don't do it in an accusatory tone. You don't do it in an angry tone like the child's going to get in trouble if they tell you something, but you let them know that you care about them, right? I mean, that's the goal, is to make sure they know that they're cared about and loved. And Bryden, what we see in the chat here, Bryden went through this traumatic experience, and you know what he's doing? He's using that traumatic experience, and he's going out there and he's warning people, and he's saying, look, this is real. This happened to me. I understand what you're going through, and this is how you have to be safe. And that's very courageous, very brave. That is somebody who's going to become a victor, not a victim. But it comes back to the fact that a lot of these kids feel ashamed. They feel guilty. We look at situations, and we hear about this all the time, where kids have been involved in these sexual relationships for long periods of time. And the child wasn't being threatened. They weren't being dragged by, you're coming with me to do this. They've been manipulated. They've been groomed. Their hormones have been used against them. And this goes on for a while. And what happens is kids start to blame themselves. Why didn't I say no the first time? How come I didn't say no the second time? Why did I continue to go see this person? And they start to think that there's something wrong with them, when there is nothing wrong with them. They were manipulated, they were fooled, they were groomed and taken advantage of. It's not the child's fault. But that false guilt and that false shame, the fear of being in trouble, the fear of being made fun of, keeps them quiet. And supportive people, parents, other family members, good school teachers, counselors, law enforcement, they have to support these kids. Just reading the chat here. Yeah, oh man. So you know what's amazing is, as I'm looking at the conversations in the chat, I see that there's a lot of support and a lot of love. And, that's what victims need to know, that if they're able to come forward, that they are going to find support. They're going to find people who care. They're going to find people that are going to protect them from any threats that were made. They're not going to find people that are going to blame them and tell them it was their fault. And that's really a beautiful thing. That's why it's so important to share this information and support what we're doing here. That's why we come to you and we say, hey, we want to reach thousands of people with this content. We want to reach thousands of people with the education and awareness that they need in order to keep their children safe. There is so much knowledge available today that people don't know about. Sometimes it's because their head's in the sand. Sometimes because they just don't think it'll happen to their children. Sometimes it's just because people are going through day-to-day life and they're not even thinking about this. They're not even concerned about it. They don't think it's an issue. But all of a sudden, when they see some stats pop up in front of their eyes, and they start going, well, wait a minute. Whoa, wait, it's that bad? Maybe I need to look into this. That helps keep kids safe. And this is why we ask you to support us financially and by sharing and talking to others and subscribing to our social media. Because, listen, the more subscribers, the more followers, you know what happens. In fact, this just happened on Facebook. All of a sudden, we're gaining followers on Facebook like crazy, right? On our business page and on our group. And it's coming from people that are finding content from a year ago, a year and a half ago. So what the heck's going on there? Like all of a sudden they're finding stuff that we did 12 months ago. How is that happening? Well, what's happening is we finally reached, I guess, the amount of views where Facebook put us into their ad revenue partner program. And so we got like a $10 payment from Facebook for like ad revenue. And we're like, okay, well, that was a surprise. And we knew about it. We had set up to have it, but we had no idea we were going to reach it. But you see what happens with these social media companies, and a lot of you know how it works. What's happening is Facebook wants to make money, right? They're going to make money off the ad revenue that's coming on our pages from our content, right? So what they're going to do is they're going to start promoting on their own our content to get it in front of more people, so more people see those ads, right? And it gets us more followers, and then more people see, and you see how it goes. The same thing happens at YouTube. You hit that 1,000 subscriber, number with a certain amount of watch hours, and then you're in the YouTube partnership program. And then what happens there is YouTube starts promoting your content on their own because they want more people to see your content because they're going to get ad revenue. Well, we want more people to see the content because we want more kids to be protected, right? So that's how important it is to share the content, not just once. A couple days later, say, let me check out the Protect Children page, and just share stuff again. Like, continuing to get it out there. Because these companies will notice. And then they will start to assist in getting it out there to more and more people. When you donate to us as a 501c3 tax-free, when you donate to us, we put that into advertising, and that also gets more people following and subscribing. So it makes a huge difference. And we want to get this information out to tons of people, thousands and thousands of kids. So please consider helping us out today in any way that you can, and you can do that by visiting our website, protectyourchildren.org. Protectyourchildren.org. Thank you in advance for that. Something that this guy said, this convicted PDF file said, was about breaking down the morals, right? And about how he looked for the parents, the family situation, the condition of the child, all those different things. All that is wrapped up in this right here. This is the PDF file predators plan. Now, we've showed this before, and we'll continue to show it. They first have to desensitize a child, which means make someone less likely to feel shock or distress at scenes or actions of a sexual nature. And they do that by overexposure to such things. We know that that's happening. I don't care if it's Disney movies, commercials, cartoons, regular Hollywood movies. There is so much sexual stuff in everything that kids are looking at today. The TikTok videos, all these young kids popping their hips, dancing all erotically to sexual songs all over social media so kids can see it. And then it gets them thinking about it, starts desensitizing them because they've seen so much of it. That's all part of a PDF files plan. Demoralize a child, corrupting their morals, causing them to leave their morals. That's where the one guy, Jack Reynolds, convicted PDF files, said, hey, I look for kids that don't have any spiritual values. They want to go after kids that don't have morals, that say this is wrong. They want kids that say, hey, anything goes. And then they want to hypersexualize the kids. They want to cause someone to be focused excessively on sex and sexual acts or sexuality. Now, the second guy, he said that they would go up to a child and they'd start talking to them and say, hey, have you been involved in sexual stuff before? Hey, how did that feel when you did it? And they're trying to get them to remember it. They're trying to get them to trigger the emotions and the hormones that they felt when they were doing stuff. They do that to try to get them hypersexualized so they have a better chance of actually doing stuff to the child. And of course, there's other ways to hypersexualize kids. All the sexual music, videos, innuendo, jokes, all of that stuff serves to hypersexualize. And then the fourth step is they attack through many different ways and places. They desensitize, demoralize, hypersexualize, and then attack. That is the PDF file predators plan. And that is exactly what they do. It's crazy. There's just so much. Jay from Michigan said, yep, sex and violence sells in all media. Tracy in the chat said sex is absolutely everywhere, even in their conversations. music, movies, video games, videos, all that stuff. That's what they do. Right. How many of you guys know about the prison doctor? We have talked about him before. The prison doctor, he's on all over social media. This guy, I encourage you to follow him on Instagram and social media, the prison doctor. You'll see his screen here. This guy does a lot of great work, and parents will call him in and his crew to help deal with, let's just say, unruly kids, okay? Or kids that are angry, disrespectful, out of control, and the parents don't know where to turn. They call up the prison doctor, and he comes in and he talks with these kids, and he helps put together a plan, a discipline plan, and all this great stuff that he does. His website is the Prison Doctor, theprison.org. But I came across this on Instagram. Now, you remember the first PDF file? No, I'm sorry, it was the second one. God, the second one said that pornography was a big part in how he got started in doing what he was doing. And you say, but wait a minute. Wait, you're telling me that pornography might trigger someone to want to go after kids? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. And it does happen. Listen to this about this 14-year-old kid. It is going to absolutely blow your mind. And if you're like me, the first thing you're going to think of is, what up, parents? Like, hello, what have you been doing while this child is doing what he's doing? But the fact that he has access to this is mind-blowing. So let's check this out.
A 14-year-old child who literally has so much pornography on his computer, on his phone, and also had several credit cards, the back and front of his mother and his father's credit cards, and just spending all their money. Had several pictures and credit cards that he just stole and been spending their money. Stand up. This is the crazy stuff that we deal with every day, with these kids that are completely out of control and are taking advantage of their single parents or their elderly step parents or parents. This is the stuff we deal with. So if you are not checking your children's phones and their computers, their laptops, you may want to, because there's things on here that these kids should not have. A lot of pornography and a lot of stolen credit cards or parents' credit cards that they don't know that they have.
Wow. Think about that for a minute. I want to replay it for you, but when you have a child that young and has that much pornography that they're consuming, and they have credit cards where they're stealing credit cards. Now, let me ask you a question. We know, unfortunately, that adult sites are free. Okay? The kid doesn't need the credit cards to get into the adult sites. As you see our comment, we put, warning, sextortion could be happening here because adult sites are free. Why does this child have all these credit cards? Could he be making payments to people to keep them quiet about stuff that he has done or seen? This is a very dangerous situation here. And this is why it's so important for parents to be monitoring what their kids are doing. You have to be looking through their phones. You have to be looking through their computers and their devices, their game systems. This kid's 14 years old. 14. And he had how much? How much? Let's check it out one more time. Let's listen.
Here with a 14-year-old child who literally has so much pornography on his computer, on his phone, and also had several credit cards, the back and front of his mother and his father's credit cards, and just spending all their money. Had several pictures and credit cards that he just stole and been spending their money. Stand up. This is the crazy stuff that we deal with every day, with these kids that are completely out of control and are taking advantage of their single parents or their elderly step parents or parents. This is the stuff we deal with. So if you are not checking your children's phones and their computers, their laptops, you may want to, because there's things on here that these kids should not have. A lot of pornography and a lot of stolen credit cards or parents' credit cards that they don't know that they have.
That is shocking. Whew. Man. Yeah. Good question. How did the parents not know? And it does sound like there's a lack of parental involvement here. Obviously. Like we look at the shield on the screen, education, awareness, parental involvement, and law enforcement all working together. And it seems like here the parents were clueless. Sorry, parents. You had no idea that your child had your credit cards and was spending money off of them. You had no idea that your child was downloading tons of pornography at 14 years old. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is straight up parents not paying attention, not being involved. They need to learn how to be involved and do it. Gosh. Now we're going to wrap up here in about 5 minutes. I want to share one more thing with you. This is coming from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. We showed you one last week. They're doing a campaign where a lot of the sheriff's departments are posting on their Instagrams and their TikToks about child predators. And because it's getting so bad, they're arresting these people, they're catching these people, and they're trying to get a warning out there to parents saying you need to be paying attention. These kids are falling victim because no one is paying attention to them. Let's check this out. It's 42 seconds.
If your child or teenager is using the internet, here's 3 things you should know. 1, use parental controls. Set up filters, block inappropriate content, and limit screen time. Most devices and apps have built-in controls to monitor these. Familiarize yourself with it and use them. 2, check their activity. Know what apps they're using, who they're talking to, and what they're posting about. Remember, it's not spying, it's parenting. Number 3, talk to them. Set up rules about online safety and the dangers of talking to strangers online. Having open conversations with your kids is crucial. If they're comfortable talking to you, they'll be comfortable telling you if something goes wrong.
That was so nice. We need to play it twice.
If your child or teenager is using the internet, here's 3 things you should know. 1, use parental controls. Set up filters, block inappropriate content, and limit screen time. Most devices and apps have built-in controls to monitor these. Familiarize yourself with it and use them. 2, check their activity. Know what apps they're using, who they're talking to, and what they're posting about. Remember, it's not spying, it's parenting. Number 3, talk to them. Set up rules about online safety and the dangers of talking to strangers online. Having open conversations with your kids is crucial. If they're comfortable talking to you, they'll be comfortable telling you if something goes wrong.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, we've been talking about it for a long time. And thank you that the sheriff's offices, at least down here in Florida, are now posting about this a lot. And they're trying to tell parents, hey, this is happening. You need to be paying attention and being more involved. Man. It's a huge issue. It's a huge problem. And they talked about parental controls. We've mentioned it before. And like the lady said, it's not spying, it's protecting. It's absolutely true. You know, we have to be able to monitor what the kids are doing because listen, if we're trying to stay 2 steps ahead of these PDF files, then your kids are not any steps ahead. I mean, that's just the bottom line. So we need to have these parental monitoring, and a lot of them are $10 a month or less. We've talked about MM Guardian, which is a great app. We've talked about AirDroid for AirDroid. AirDroid is on for Android phones, which is a great app. There's tons of them out there. Bark is another fantastic one that people can use. But like they said, there is a lot of free parental controls that can be put on these kids' devices that come with the software. I mean, you don't even have to pay, right? So, but it's just a matter of taking the time to realize the importance and actually putting the controls in place. Marie T said, love Ghost. Not sure I've heard of Ghost before, but Marie, is that a parental monitoring app? That's pretty cool. But this is what we have to do, you know, and on our website, protectyourchildren.org, we actually list right here. Look at this. Setting up parental controls. Okay. Devices covered in order. Listen, you click on any of these Android devices, Apple devices, Windows phones. Yeah, they're still around. Xbox One, PlayStation 3, 4, 5. We got them all. Okay. Fortnite. You know, you can put parental controls on Fortnite. And if you scroll down here, look at this. It's going to give you step by step on how to do it. Look at this. We lay it out for you step by step on how to put it on your child's devices. All right. We're making it easy for you. You follow the steps for all of these different things, and you can implement this tonight, immediately. It's not that difficult to do if people know about it. Just got to visit our website, protectyourchildren.org. Go to set up parental controls, and you can do it tonight. You can do it tonight. All right. Really quick again before we finish, our live shows are all here on our website, protectyourchildren.org. You can catch all the live shows. Last week, apathy leads to abuse. Are you guilty? Yeah, this was a crazy, crazy situation with a teacher has potentially up to 6 middle school victims. She wanted them to wear scream masks while she was abusing them. There is some sick garbage going on, man. And I'll tell you what, it was a very informative show. And this one actually has got like 150 listens on the podcast. It's doing a lot better than the others. But in any case, we're very thankful that people are finding it and watching and listening. Week before that, your kids' photos are being turned into CP. You know what that is? Using AI. Oh, yeah. They're just taking the regular photos that the parents are posting on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and other social media. And the predators are taking it off of there, and they're using AI to remove the clothes of your children. And then they're sharing those pictures with their PDF file friends and selling them and trading them. And guess what? They don't change the child's face. Oh, yeah. They just keep their face on there, and it destroys your child's life. They're doing that, but that was a very important show. All 5 parts of the Protect Kids from Sexual Predators on there. Lots of other episodes, podcasts, all there on our website, protectyourchildren.org. Also, child protection videos, different kinds. Listen, it's all there. English and Spanish, zip code predator searches. You can do that. Missing children by state. There's updated list. You click on the link for your state. You can see all the kids that are missing. Hey, you might recognize a name or a face. It's important to check that out. You can donate to help protect children, which is what we talked about earlier. All right. You don't have to have a PayPal account, by the way. We picked up another new monthly person who's donating. We thank you very much for that. It is a tax-deductible donation. PayPal account is not needed, but we do use PayPal, so we do not see any of your vital credit card information, okay? So you can make a donation to help us out, and we can continue to protect more children. Listen, we have lots of expenses. Nobody here takes a salary. We're all volunteers. So anything, all of these things right now are being paid for out of our own pockets. And let me tell you, you know how tough it is getting out there. So we have website maintenance, hosting and updating, advertising, printing costs for guidelines and business cards, all that good stuff. Hosting in-person and online conferences, that costs money. Hosting and producing podcasts, that costs money. The live streaming that we use, the platform costs money. Listen, there's so many things that cost money to run this organization, and we are severely limited right now in what we can do. Final point I want to make really quick, Zachary Bernhardt. Okay, we are making some movement on this. Marie T, actually check your email. I sent you an email last night on some next steps that are being taken. But this precious child here on the left went missing in the year 2000. There's some age progression photos. This case is very, very disturbing. And we are continuing to actively look for Zachary Bernhardt. The police aren't doing anything anymore unless a tip comes in, of course. So it's going to be up to the amateur sleuths out there and organizations like ours to continue to get his face out there, get his story out there, seek information, gather facts that may have been missed. And we do pass along things to law enforcement as needed. And this precious child, Zachary Bernhardt, missing from Clearwater, Florida. I believe now he's 31 years old. Okay. And we want to help bring this boy home. We want to help him find his way. And believe me, we have lots of information to indicate that he is still alive and that he is living under an alias and is actually may still be in the state of Florida. So he went missing from Clearwater, Florida, but we need funds to help locate this child. We don't have any funds to help locate him. The few things we're doing right now is just using available resources that we already have. And you can help us to locate and bring Zach home by making a donation today on our website. So, all right, that's all that stuff. But hey, listen, thank you everybody for being here. Jay from Michigan, Tammy, love the screen name Tammy. Jay from Michigan, thank you for all you do. Bryden, thank you for sharing, being courageous and sharing your story, bringing great information and helping people know that they're not alone. Marie T, of course, our co-director, you're awesome. Thank you so much for all that you do. Rising on Eagle's Wings, Maria Morales, good to see you there, Maria. Glad that you made it. Tracy Servant of Christ, so many others, and everybody else watching online on Rumble and Facebook and YouTube. We thank you for being here. Please stay tuned for more information. We post on social media all week long. Now I'll tell you that a certain special someone in my family has a birthday next Saturday. So there will be a pre-recorded show, but that doesn't mean you could skip it. The chat will still be here. Well, I'll put together a great show for you, but it will be pre-recorded, but it will air at 8 p.m. Eastern as usual. So be sure not to miss that. So thank you, everybody, for being here. This has been Saturday Night Child Protection Live with your host, Christopher Gelson, the director and lead teacher of Protect Your Children Incorporated. Please visit. Oh, yes. And Sheena. Don't let me forget Sheena. Sorry, Sheena. I almost forgot. How could I forget Sheena? She's awesome, too. Thank you for being here, Sheena. Appreciate you. Make sure you visit our website, protectyourchildren.org. Follow us on all social media. And like we said, if you can help us with a financial donation, listen, we're looking for 100 people. Out of the 11,000 that follow us, 100 people to donate $5 a month. $5 a month recurring. That's all we're asking. If you could do more, that's great. But $5 a month from 100 people will cover our expenses for the month and help us to advertise and start growing the reach even more. So if you could do $5 a month, you can visit our website, protectyourchildren.org, click on donate and set up a recurring donation, $5 a month. It goes a long way when it's combined with everybody else's donations. So anyway, thank you for that. Thank you all for being here, for caring, and for loving the kids as we do. God willing, we will be back next Saturday, 8 p.m. Everybody stay safe. Good night, and God bless.